I have two articles to talk about. Young men and women are moving in opposite directions, and young women grow less religious than young men. And these are both from Axios. I'm going to start with this one because I believe that the religion issue is the reason that the gender divide is happening. I believe that getting disillusioned with the hypocrisy and the oppression that happens with these Abrahamic religions and Christianity, specifically here in the United States, is making women pull away. And religion and patriarchy go hand in hand. And that has been the way women have been kept suppressed, oppressed, our opportunities squandered. Now, so let's get into this article. It says there's a growing religious divide among younger Americans. Gen Z women of almost all faiths are more likely to be religiously unaffiliated than Gen Z men, an Axios review of polling data found. Why it matters. While the overall trend of each generation being less religiously observant than their elders is decades old, the gender split is new. The exodus of young women can be seen in particular in white evangelical congregations, which are becoming smaller and more male. The faith divide also reflects a political divide. Polls show young women moving left much faster than young men by the numbers. A survey by the Nonpartisan Public Religion Research Institute, PRRI, found that 39% of Gen Z women identify as religiously unaffiliated compared to 31% of Gen Z men. Only 8% of Gen Z women identify as white evangelicals compared with 13% of Gen Z men. Just 6% of Gen Z women say they're Black Protestant, compared with 8% of Gen Z men, a surprising stat given how Black women across generations have been drivers of the Black church. So it says the proportions of young people identifying as Catholic, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or Muslim are also declining, but by similar rates for men and women. State of play. Gen Z, which includes those born between 1997 and 2012, is the most racially and ethnically diverse generation in U.S. history. An estimated 40.8 million Gen Zers will be eligible to vote in this November's general election, 1/6 of all qualified voters. Various studies show them to be the most left-leaning generation that will be taking part. Gen Z appears to be more politically engaged than previous rising generations, and that's particularly true of Gen Z women. PRRI CEO Melissa Deckman tells Axios. Between the lines, and this is important, Democrats are more religiously diverse, while Republicans are more white and Christian. This is one of the reasons why they are really rattling the cage like, y'all need to have more babies, y'all need to have more babies. And what they really mean is, y'all, white women, can y'all please have some more white babies? The falling participation rates of young women in white evangelical churches is a warning sign for the GOP, says Deckman, the author of the recent book, The Politics of Gen Z. One of the biggest factors of Gen Z women leaving is the treatment of the LGBTQ individuals. Gen Z women who grew up in the Me Too era are also discouraged by the ex-abuse scandals in the evangelical and Catholic churches and the lack of leadership roles for women. So remember, the SBC, the Southern Baptist Convention, just went through this whole thing where they're trying to oust women pastors, women leadership. They said, no, your place is in the kitchen, Sarah. Go back to the kitchen. And Sarah was like, I can do more than that. This just warms my spirit. The intrigue. Some experts think churches need to change their structures or even theology to retain more young women or else face extinction. And this is the same thing that goes along with the birth rate and how men in these patriarchal countries will not listen to women. So until they change their structures and how they do things, the birth rate is going to continue to plummet to hell, just like religion and the church membership will continue to decline. This all works hand in hand. For the whole lifetime of Gen Z, the dominant form of Christianity has been the era of conservative evangelical dominance. Reverend Brian Kaler, editor in chief of the historic Baptist journal World and Way, tells Axios Gen Z women identify Christianity with evangelicalism, most denominations of which are politically conservative and don't allow women to become pastors or church leaders. Gen Z women aren't putting up with that because women are doing big things. And that is going to take us into this next article, talking about how young men and women are moving in opposite directions. Data of all kind reveals a little discussed future defining trend. Men and women are going their separate ways. They are diverging. Why it matters. The split is clear in politics and religion, education, and the labor market. For the next generation, gender is becoming the biggest predictor of how you think, act, and vote. There's a much broader story here, says Daniel Cox, director of the Survey Center on American Life. Even after all the votes are tallied and we've moved on from the 2024 election, we're not going to have resolved any of the cultural and relational tension between young men and young women. You see it in politics. Women are turning left and men are turning right. And this goes along with the whole politics and religion because women are opting out of religion because it's oppressive, it's suppressive, it pushes you back. It makes you put your opportunities on the back burner to edify the peen havers. And women are saying no. And that goes into their politics. And now they're talking about religion right here. For the first time ever recorded in the US, young men are more religious than young women. You see it in education. There are 2.4 million more women on US college campuses than men, and the Institute for Boys and Men, AIBM, notes. And those degrees are often resulting in higher wage jobs for women in big cities, a Pew Research Center analysis of census data found. You see it in the labor market. Wages and labor force participation have increased since the 1980s for college educated men and women and for working class women, but they have stagnated for working class men who are also now significantly less likely to be employed compared to 4 decades ago. So women are going to college more than men, and the labor force participation is high for college educated men and women. So these men that are not going into college, their labor force participation rates are stagnating. That's the reason why many of these lower education dudes are angry and becoming incelosauruses and falling out of the workforce. All right, it says you see it in visions for the future. Men are more likely than women to want marriage and kids, according to Pew. The percentage of 18 to 34-year-old women wanting kids has fallen to 45% versus 57% for men. That is huge. Women are telling folks we are opting out of this. We don't need to do this. We now have our own finances. We can take care of ourselves. And the men are just not that likable. And men are not listening. They see women opting out and now they want marriage. And you can see it in the discourse on social media that they really do want marriage and they don't know how to react to women saying that they no longer want marriage or children. What we're watching, the polarization is even stronger among adults under 25. Social media content and algorithms may be one key reason. Men are constantly fed social media content that's negative towards women and vice versa. Videos breaking down bad dates from the perspective of either the man or the woman are a viral example of that trend. Gen Zers are 15 points more likely than other generations to say social media has negatively impacted their outlook on men, and 10 points more likely to say so for women. The bottom line, we live in a very individualistic culture, and for a lot of people, the primary relationship they have is with their partner or spouse. For heterosexual couples, this polarization is making finding a partner trickier. This has tremendous implications for how men and women relate to one another in the dating space. I don't see this turning around anytime soon. Now that women have the opportunities to get an education to support ourselves with money, and we don't have to rely on men to be the whole provider situation, men have got to find another role where they are supporting themselves and being able to be likable, working in the household with the children and with the chores, and being better individuals, and they need to adapt. Y'all join the conversation, like, comment, share.